Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blank and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Hello, beautiful people. I'm Devan, and I'm back this week for the GSMC TV podcast. We've got a lot of stuff to unpack this week. It's been a pretty drama-filled week, but, we'll just start slow, and we'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. So, right off the top of my head, Ricky Gervais, we talked about his Golden Globes moment last time, and how some people were kind of taking his jokes a little bit too seriously, and then some people liked them, but the overall response was, whoa. He ate some people up and spit them out, but, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It seems like he was canned. Tina Fey and Amy Poehler were officially signed to host the Golden Globes in 2020 or 2021. So, that's that. I guess you really can't make an Epstein joke, even though, most of us are all thinking the same thing. So moving on. High School Musical, the series. Don't know why they named it that. I think they just could have named it High School Musical, the series. But High School Musical, the series, had its finale last week, and this show I didn't specifically watch, but oh my goodness, I caught the end of, what people were saying on Twitter, and, I went back and I looked at a couple of things, and this show looked so cute. I couldn't quite get into it because I'm, in my 20s now, and the show's about high school, and I'm kind of past that. But apparently the show had a lot of, hard-hitting, kind of deeper topics than Disney usually allows, and I think that's why it was so popular with some of the fans. And Twitter just, erupted about it. But there was apparently a really great, steamy smooch, near the end. There was an LGBTQ couple, which is pretty awesome. I feel like Disney is kind of releasing their grip on what they think their actors should do, because I know watching Disney from a young age, Disney has always had a kind of a heavy hand on their stars and their people, and you can even go so far as to say they really just send these stars over the edge with how tightly they hold them. So I don't know if it's a Disney Plus thing, if the fact that it's not airing on Disney Channel is different, but this show kind of was more realistic, yet still appealing to people who are underage because the actors are very young. And they did an interview with, I think it was 17 or BuzzFeed or one of those younger, news streams. And they were sitting down and they were asking them, what's your favorite TV show? Smart House, That's So Raven, Lizzie McGuire, etc. What's your favorite DCOM? Cadet Kelly. And these kids are a good 6 to, I wouldn't say 6 to 10, a good at least 5 to 8 years younger than me. And that was my, sweet spot for Disney with all the DCOMs. Hilary Duff was super popular. Raven Simone was super popular. I grew just out of it when Hannah Montana was, like, gearing up, but I'd say 2000 to, like, 2010, maybe a little bit before that, but that was my era, and that's the fact that these kids are, like, 5 years younger than me, and saying that they remember this stuff, it just blows my mind. I'm like, what do you really remember? But, you know, I don't want to act like a boomer. The boomers are like, what do you remember? You don't know the Beatles. You don't know Aerosmith. You don't know insert whatever cool band. You think you're a Fleetwood Mac fan. So I don't want to be like that. It's just kind of surprising. I'm not as old as I thought I was, I guess. So, yeah, check that series out. I didn't watch it, but I feel like I won't. But it's good to know that Disney is doing, you know, releasing their grip a little bit. Okay, Bachelor drama. This is kind of funny. So apparently, Madison Pruitt, who is one of the top runners-up for the new season of The Bachelor, she makes it to the final 3. That's all I'm going to say. This girl was the girl who went to Auburn and played basketball, and her dad was the coach and stuff. I don't understand why that's a catchy, like, reminder clip. Like, I don't know what the draw or the hook was for that, making her like putting her dad in there and making her whole, you know, introduction about high school. It kind of screamed like prom queen to me, like the people who can't quite leave high school in the past. But so she's a top contender, and apparently on one of her photos, I don't know if she forgot to toggle, you know, between her Instagram and her Finstagram. And for those of you who don't know what a Finstagram is, that's like your fake Instagram. But somebody caught her, like took screenshots, they're everywhere, of her commenting on her own photo. Hi Maddie, we love you. I hope you have a great date. Or they said something like, it was like as if it was a fan. And so people are speculating that she has her own fan account and she runs it. So that she kind of like, and she comments on her own stuff. So that's like a thing now. And she came back and she was like, no, it was my sister. She has my Instagram account. Likely. Okay. I don't believe that, but she busted girl. Penn Badgley was on Stephen Colbert. And he was talking, you know, being creepy, season 2 of You, and Stephen Colbert asked him, how is it so easy to play creepy? And Penn Badgley said, you know, it's not that hard. All you have to do is be somewhere where you're not supposed to be and not do anything, like not act like it's out of the ordinary. And he was commenting on his character and why so many people are like, oh my god, I want to date Joe from You, and he was like, you know, it's not their fault. It's not the viewer's fault because the show is written to kind of empathize with the serial killer. But he said it's no fault to the people who do like him because you will empathize with a, you know, slightly younger, attractive, wealthier, well-presented white male, whereas if it were somebody who didn't present so well, of a different race, of a different ethnicity, of a different socioeconomic background, it wouldn't have been taken so well. So he kind of threw a little bit of shade at society and was like, well, yeah, of course people are going to, you know, find this character attractive. He's attractive and he's presented this way, but, you know, that's society. You know, if it's a white guy, it's cool, but if it's not a white guy, it's an issue. And, I mean, yeah, he's not wrong. Props to him for being, you know, ballsy enough to say that. Society really does, I feel, give a pass to white people sometimes. And sometimes if you line two people up, a white person commits a crime, a black person commits the same crime, the white person gets a slap on the wrist, and the black person goes to jail. Like, it's not cool. It's not right. And kudos to him for shedding some light on that. So Lizzie McGuire, this one kills me. Lizzie McGuire is being put on hold because Terry Minsky, who was showrunner, producer, director, stepped down after 2 episodes and apparently said, you know, Lizzie McGuire was important to so many people. True. And we want the show to run a different way. And so she's stepping down and they're looking for a new showrunner. And I don't, but Terry Minsky was what made it so good. It is new. It's a new time for her, so I understand why they would want it to run a little bit differently. Hilary Duff said that, she's still the same person. She's more mature. Lizzie is, but she's dealing with a little bit of, when she was in middle school, it was like things that were kind of funny were the issues, but now she's 30. She doesn't have kids, and I think they might dive into like infertility or something, because she said it's a little bit more serious content. Something you might actually face if you were in your 30s, And so, also we know that little cartoon Lizzie is going to make a comeback, and I'm so excited for that. So that's housekeeping. That's, hot news, hot TV news, hot topics. Yeah. When we come back, I sat down a couple of nights ago with my best friend. I went to go visit her up where she lives, and we watched Chasing Happiness, that new Jonas Brothers kind of biopic documentary, and it did not disappoint. I had a couple drinks, and we sat down, had some snacks, and watched it, and some tears were shed. It did not disappoint. So I'm going to get into that. Also, my Jonas Brothers concert story. We got to go see them. Same friend. And I'll just, I'll give you a little rundown of the Jonas Brothers and what they're doing. So stay right here. Get you a snack. Get you some socks on. Get your little toesies comfy. And we'll be right back with the GSMC TV podcast.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
Guys, I'm back. I'm gonna really try and work on my diction, because it has been brought to my attention that I kind of slur my words, and I don't want to be known as the slurrer. So I'm going to work on my diction for you guys. All right. We're going to talk about the Jonas Brothers. So my best friend and we sat down 2 nights ago, and we had a couple drinks, as we usually do when we get together. We don't see each other too often. She's my best friend, has been my best friend since 6th grade, and we're in our 20s now, so pretty long-lasting friendship, BFFs forever. And we sat down and watched the Jonas Brothers Chasing Happiness. So that's the documentary kind of biography movie that they put out a couple of months ago before they went on tour. We also went to the concert, so I'll share my concert experience here down in Texas. But yeah, we turned on the documentary, and after seeing them and kind of realizing, holy crap, this is surreal. I'm seeing the Jonas Brothers. Watching the documentary was even more special, because we kind of figured out where they came from. So, the Jonas Brothers, for those of you who don't know, for maybe some of our older listeners, the Jonas Brothers are a kind of pop rock group. They were not a kids group, but like a young teen adult morphed into teen group, that were popular in like the mid 2000s. They started on the Disney Channel and made music and did a couple of Disney Channel original movies and kept making music as they got older. And then they broke up after like 10 years together, I want to say, maybe a little bit less than 10 years. And everybody was heartbroken. The Jonas Brothers defined, kind of a millennial's childhood. Millennials, I say millennials, I was born in, I'm not going to say when I was born, but I was born in the later 90s. Do you guys care how old I am? I'm 23. Does it matter? I was born in 1996. Sorry for being weird. I don't know how much of myself I'm supposed to share. And for me, right when I reached the age of like 8, 9, 10, where I was like cognizant of the world and actually paying attention to what was around me, the Jonas Brothers were up on the rise. And I kind of followed them until about the end of middle school. I loved them. And when they broke up, albeit I was a little bit older, and I wasn't following them near as much, but it still was a little bit of a shock. These were my guys, my bros, my Joe bros. And they just they drifted apart. And we didn't hear anything from them for like, how long was it? I'm going to say at least 5 years. Probably more than 5, not as much as 10. And in between that time, Nick Jonas had his solo career, and Joe Jonas had his DNCE dance. Cake by the Ocean was the song. And he kind of was like a one-hit wonder. Kevin had a family. He married and had 2 girls. And then, out of the blue, last year, probably around summer, no, earlier than that, maybe around spring, I was looking through my social media and I found out, the Jonas Brothers are back. They're going on tour, and I freaked out, texted my best friend. My mom bought us tickets as a birthday present, and we'd been waiting for it ever since. So they hadn't put out any new music or anything, and, the concert date got closer, and it wasn't, I didn't know how much drama went into the Jonas Brothers and what had gone down with them breaking up. But, yeah, we went to the concert, and I again had the same drinkity drinks. Patron does something else to me. And I was just sitting there, like, screaming my lungs out and just witnessing this surreal, like, I can't believe my childhood heroes are, like, right in front of me. And we danced and we sang. I think that's the best concert I've ever been to. That sounds ridiculous. The Jonas Brothers was the best concert I've ever been to. But it was just so nostalgic to me. We've come this far. They're all married now. And we're in our early 20s figuring out, what we're doing, graduating from college. And they were such a big part of our lives. It was so important to us. And I teared up a couple of times because I just couldn't imagine, this is where I am. Whenever I was listening to them as a child, things were relatively, carefree and easy. And then, life got hard and I'm coming out of that, figuring out where I'm going, and I'm alive on the other side, and they're back. And I feel like they've been with me my whole life. Super sentimental and weird. But it was an amazing experience. Shortly before they went on tour, they released Happiness Begins, the album, and my mom got us both the album for a concert gift, and I listened to everything. I knew the whole album. I knew all of the songs. Pretty good album for their, comeback album. I learned the songs fairly quickly for the concert, and I was just, singing my lungs out. So, whereas most people might have been excited for Justin Bieber to put out Yummy or his new album, I was super excited for the Jonas Brothers, and I think I'm, all the more level-headed for it. So yeah, basically I'm going to try and do this quickly, wrap this up shortly. The documentary, Chasing Happiness, is really raw and really real. It goes into the brothers individually, how they grew up, how they came to, enjoy performing and getting back together. It goes back to their roots, and something that it really touches on that I didn't know was that Nick Jonas, the youngest brother, well, Frankie's the youngest, but the youngest Jonas brother in the music group, was the leader of the group. Apparently he was on Broadway. He had his own, record deal or something, and he was just playing around with his brothers, and he was like, hey, listen to this, and that's when the Jonas Brothers was formed, but he had already been on Broadway, and the boys had already been doing commercials and stuff, and Joe kind of followed in Nick's footsteps because he didn't want to be in Nick's shadow. And it kind of shows, that there was some jealousy, a little bit of competition, and it goes into, the fact that Nick ultimately got them together. Nick was also their downfall and broke them apart, and it goes through the family drama, the tension, and, getting back together and how that was for them. And don't drink and watch it. You'll cry. But if you're a Jonas fan, definitely check out Chasing Happiness. So good. All right, when we come back, another show. I have a weird fascination with prison shows. I watched 60 Days In this weekend, and I am hooked. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about that, and then I'll talk a little bit about Dare Me. So stay right here with us. We'll be right back.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Hello, everybody. So, I told you guys before we left off last time, I am obsessed with prison shows. I remember a couple of months back I got super obsessed with prison shows. And there was a show, and it goes back to A&E a long time ago. Whenever I was younger, I used to watch Beyond Scared Straight. And there was a show that came on a couple of months ago that I just got fascinated with. It was something like young and locked up, or, young female in prison. It wasn't that, politically incorrect, but it was something catchy. And it was about juveniles who have been locked up. And that's so interesting to me because I love psychology, and I love, although I hate criminals and violent crime, I love figuring out, what is going on in the brain of somebody who can commit just these horrendous crimes, and how can we stop it? How can we, as relatively normal people in society compared to criminals, how can we stop the crime? And how can we protect ourselves so that we don't get, we don't let ourselves mental health go unchecked to the point to where we become, capable of doing things that we never thought we were. So I started this new show, 60 Days In, and I can't believe that I had never heard about this show before. I was just watching A&E as I usually do. I like to watch Live PD. It's one of my favorite shows. I'll probably do a segment about that one day. And after Live PD, 60 Days In came on, and it takes a lot for me to sit down and watch something that I don't know anything about. I like familiar things. I like routine and pattern, so I usually stick to things I know. And this show was coming on after Live PD, so I kind of just stuck around and watch it. So the premise is basically, usually on prison shows, you see people who are locked up for doing horrendous things, whether that's juveniles or adults or, criminals on the street, celebrities. Usually it's, the normal gang. This show takes five to seven people that are, they haven't committed any crimes. So a stay-at-home mom, a teacher, a Marine, a a former cop and, an at-risk youth. They take people from all walks of life, really, who are relatively naive in society, and they put them in prison for 60 days. 60 days. And the show is brutal. But some of these people, you're thinking like, oh, I can't wait until you get a taste of your own medicine. So I'm on season 1 right now. I just started season 1, and there's this guy. There's a stay-at-home mom who I just think she's skinny, she's little, she's gonna get eaten alive. So bless her. There's this jackwagon named Robert, and everyone I watch this show with is like, oh my god, I hope he gets his ass kicked. He's just like, I think it's gonna be easy. I don't think there's anything to complain about. I think I'm gonna survive. I don't think I'm gonna have any issues. And of course, this has got to be like a little bit scripted. Because everybody knows that our prison systems are a mess. There's a former cop, and she's at the most risk because she's also a lesbian. And so if anybody finds out she's a cop, for one, that's not going to go over well. So she has to hide her tattoos because she has a cop tattoo, try and fit in well. And same for the Marine. There's a Marine, and he has, he had to shave his hair, shave his head, because if they found out he was in the Marines, they don't like that. And the show is real. They tell the people, keep quiet, don't provoke anybody, because we're not, the inmates don't know that these people are going in there undercover, and the guards don't even know. So they don't give these people any special treatment. Nobody knows that these people are undercover except for the people and the people who are filming. And the guys is like they're filming for an episode, but nobody knows who is undercover. And the premise of the show is that they're doing this to realize, what do we need to fix? What do we need to do better in the prison system? And everything. Our prison system is disgusting. And Tyler and I were talking about this the other night, how, they're not going to, don't put the criminals up in some 5-star luxury hotel, but also give them a chance to rehab themselves in a safe place. Be a decent human being if you're going to go into, rehabilitation services and being a prison guard. These prison guards are corrupted. It's terrible. It's unsafe. It's unclean in these facilities. The prison guards are corrupted. The prison guards smuggle in drugs. The drugs are rampant. The food, they don't. And I mean, if you've committed a violent crime, an assault, or a theft, a burglary, I get it. We don't want to, give these people, 5-star resort stays, but you also have to say, especially if you're on, more side of America, everybody is created equal, you have to at least give people a fair chance to rehab themselves. And that is not going to be where people are walking by spitting on you. There has to be a sort of reform necessary. And I say the same thing for our hospitals. Mental institutions are not, kept up very well at all, because there's such a high influx of people needing care, and there's not enough money or resources to go around. And some of these public, rehabilitation centers, prisons, jails, mental institutions are just rife with mistreatment, bad, the people don't follow the rules, there's not enough resources, drug issues, medication issues. There's just public institutions need a lot of help in the U.S., and I don't think that's, I don't think anybody disagrees with that. Just go to a DPS place, or where you go get your driver's license, a DMV, and you can agree, publicly run institutions are a nightmare. So that's my little spiel of what I've been watching this weekend. I watched Jonas Brothers Chasing Happiness, and I watched a lot of 60 Days In. And whenever I come back, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of an updated, summary on Dare Me, that new cheerleading drama that I've been watching. It sucked me in, and I always say, I'm not going to get sucked in, or I give a negative opinion, and then I end up, getting sucked in. But it's dark and twisty and edgy, so I'm going to give you guys the latest. Stay right here with the GSMC TV podcast. We will be right back.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Yo, hey, y'all. I'm from Texas, we have to say y'all. So, when we left off, I told you guys about my kind of, reality TV addiction. For those of you who don't already know, that mostly what I watch is reality TV and documentaries and stuff like that. Occasionally, twisty teen dramas. That's what I'm going to talk about now. Dare Me is airing its first episode tonight. Third. Dude, I watched the first episode a couple of weeks ago, and I actually went online because I liked it so much, and I found the second episode. So I've watched the first and second episode, and I've been waiting for the third episode, and it's coming on tonight. It airs on the USA Network, so that's where you can find it. Comes on at 9 o'clock. So, a little plot synopsis for those of you who didn't listen a couple of weeks ago. Shame on you. Just kidding. Dare Me is a TV series written based on the book by Meg Abbott. She wrote The Princess Diaries and a couple of other, more higher level teen books. So, it was a novel. Dark novel. Was the same way it's written as a TV series. And it was picked up in January 2019 and premiered December 29th, 2019. So we had kind of a New Year's Christmassy late winter premiere, and it's still going. We're just on the third episode. So basically, the plot, it follows a group of students, competitive high school cheerleaders in a small Midwestern town. We don't know what town. But we know, it's small, and cheerleading, whenever you're a cheerleader in this small Midwestern town, you're now a god, so people need to bow down to you. You're apparently hot shit. So, front runners, Willa Fitzgerald plays Colette French, the new high school coach. So she kind of arrives on the scene. Willa Fitzgerald is freaking beautiful. You might know her from Mad Men. She's the new cheerleading coach, and that's kind of what shakes up the town. A new cheerleading coach comes in to coach the girls and kind of brings all this drama with her. She's young, she's beautiful. She leads them to compete, and it's kind of a bigger, more sinister plan than originally is let on. Heritzen Guardiola is Addie Hanlon, a cheerleader, so she's like the main character. There are kind of two main characters, but she's, you can tell the plot and synopsis kind of focuses on her more. There are more of her scenes. She's kind of this quiet girl, and she automatically bonds with Coach French. She's quieter. She's different than the other cheerleaders. She comes from a poorer background, whereas her best friend and the other girls on the squad, you know, they come from money and prestige and honor, and you know, their families are higher up in the community. But her foil is that she's, you know, she's poor. She needs a scholarship to get into college. So she bonds with the coach, and the coach is like, you're different, huh? And it's weird because there's so much tension in this series. It's like these characters could kiss at any moment, like any one of them. It's so weird how much sexual tension is in here. And then we have Marlo Kelly, a relatively new face. I haven't seen many of these people before, minus Willa Fitzgerald. Marlo Kelly plays Beth Cassidy, who is Addie's best friend. Beth and Addie have been best friends since, you know, they were young. She is the daughter of a really prominent figure in, I think he's the town mayor on the town council, some prominent figure in the city. And she's the captain of the cheer squad until the coach comes along and says, you know, my squad doesn't have any captains, yada, yada, yada. And so her story, her backstory is really kind of dark. Her mom is a pill popper. Her dad has left her and her mom to go live across the street with his mistress, who also has a daughter who's on the cheer squad, and her name is Tacy, weird name, Tacy. She's Beth's half-sister, and she's a freshman on the squad, and I think the coach, Colette, kind of knows how to stir shit up, because she automatically, when she kicks Beth out, she puts Tacy on the top of the pyramid, and, you know, chaos ensues. And there's a couple of moments in here where you're like, this Beth character is about to fly off the rails, because she really is one of those girls that would do anything to stay on top. You know, it's a darker thing. It's a darker show. There are many times where the music gets quieter and you're like, shit, is something about to go down? Is this girl, there's a moment with a gun in the second episode, and there's drugs, there's sex, there's guns and blood. That's what drew me in. The first thing I ever saw was, you know, Addie, and she's got blood on her hands, and she's scrolling through her phone, and she's like, you know, we were waiting for Coach French. This is what she says in the overview of a trailer. This is what drew me in. And she said, it was all so beautiful until it wasn't, and then I couldn't stop it. And, you know, something went down because she has blood on her hands, and someone's ended up dead. And, you know, it's small town tragedy kind of show. It's super edgy, super dark. But so far, we've been introduced to all of the characters. French has come in, knocked Beth off the squad. Beth goes crazy, drives drunk, and holds a gun on a couple of people. And there's a guy, a Navy recruiter, who is at the school, comes up because he's supposed to be meeting Beth, who likes to sleep with teachers. Again, with the, why do we have to tell girls to sleep with their teachers? To be edgy in high school. She thinks he's coming to meet her. He's not. He stops her, pulls the gun out of her hands, and then she loses her phone, and Addie takes her home. She says, you know, everything's changing. They're, you know, sleeping together. She stayed over at her house, and then she realizes, shit, I lost my phone. In the forest, they go back, see something they should not have seen, and that's kind of where episode 2 picks up. And so Colette French is like, you know what you've seen, keep it under wraps. And of course, no mercy from Beth. She's just full throttle, like waving it in her face, and you can tell that she's going to use what she saw to get what she wants. We're introduced to a couple of other characters, and we learned that Colette was actually enlisted by the principal to do, something different than what she was originally, everyone thought she was going to do, and her husband's introduced, and it gets darker as it goes. And that's kind of where we are. I feel like something's about to go down. I'm excited to watch the 3rd episode tonight. I've been waiting for it. So that's Dare Me, and that comes on tonight at 9 on the USA TV network. When we come back, we're going to talk Disney Plus and its outage. So people are complaining all around the world that they haven't really gotten access to Disney Plus, that their access is really spotty, and so it's kind of, Disney Plus was a standout whenever it came out, but now it's kind of taken a nosedive, so we'll get into that when we get back. Stay right here with the GSMC TV podcast.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith. An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Hey guys, so we're going to talk a little bit about Disney Plus and, the outage that people are complaining about. So when Disney Plus launched, it quickly topped Netflix. It topped Hulu, it topped Amazon Prime, and we all thought, this is something. Disney has done it again. Disney has hatched the latest and greatest app. And for a while it had. It was one of the biggest entertainment rollouts and most hyped, but recently all of this stuff has been coming out from millions of people who signed up for the streaming service and didn't get what they were looking for. So they were experiencing outages, spotty access, or limited access, or no access at all. And a lot of people were not satisfied and complaining and stuff, and things have come out via Down Detector, which is kind of like an app or, streaming, rating system. And the company recently Disney tweeted that the demand for Disney Plus has exceeded their expectations, and that's why the spottiness and the coverage and the lack of, stability has been being experienced like it has, is because they didn't expect to be so popular. And I checked, Disney Plus is still the number 2 app downloaded, behind something. It's not behind Netflix. It's the top media app downloaded, but it's behind something else. And I don't know how they're going to be doing after this, but there are a lot of people, me even, who I watched a couple of Pixar movies and I'm bored now. So, but there are others who love High School Musical, the series. They love The Mandalorian. They love all the Avengers content. For me though, lately I've been on Amazon Prime. It really rotates. For me, I'm not necessarily loving Disney Plus. It kind of has worn off for me. But they're working to resolve their issues, and the architecture of the app. But people are realizing in the new year, movies just disappeared. The Home Alone series just disappeared without any warning, without, there was a list of things that were coming out, but we thought, once things were on Disney Plus, they were going to stay on there, but that's apparently not correct. This is going to be a rotating platform, much like Netflix is, much like Hulu and Amazon Prime is. So it creates a little bit of a maybe positive marketing thing where you need to download Disney Plus and stream everything you can before they leave. So, a list of what left: Dr. Dolittle, Flicka, Garfield, Home Alone 2, Mickey, Donald, and Goofy, The Three Musketeers, Pirates of the Caribbean, Strange Magic, The Sandlot. I didn't even get to watch it. I really wanted to watch it. There's just so much to watch. The Shaggy Dog, and The Wonderful World of Disney Magical Holiday Celebration. And my guess is that people, there are licensing things, and I don't know if it's any, relation, but Dr. Dolittle with Robert Downey Jr., the trailers were just released in theaters. So I don't know if it is a licensing thing on, switching everything out, but a lot of stuff disappeared, and people are kind of like, what the heck? But a lot of stuff was also added. High School Musicals, the series, it's a mouthful. They had their finale aired, another episode of Encore. Forky Asks a Question is still going. Aladdin, the 2019 movie, came on, which I'm super excited about because that was just a couple of months ago, it seems like. It came on. Like, the movie came out. And I loved that. That was a fun time. And The Lion King, 2019, I never got to see that. That's coming on the 28th of January. So I'm going to be waiting for that. Because I've seen Aladdin, but I haven't seen The Lion King. And I pay for Disney Plus. Or my partner pays for Disney Plus. So I'm pretty excited for that. But that's the Disney Plus buzz. What do you guys think? Do you guys think it'll stay relevant? There were tons of people who deleted the app after The Mandalorian. The only thing I'm really looking forward to is maybe Aladdin if I get bored, and definitely The Lion King. So, and things that come out that I want to see again, obviously I'll wait until they go to Disney Plus. But besides that, I feel like the app is kind of losing its traction, losing its footing a little bit. But I guess we'll see how it goes for Disney Plus. One thing I have noticed, and I mentioned this a couple of segments ago, I feel like Disney has loosened its grasp on its stars that aren't streaming on the cable service. And I don't know why that is. I don't know. And that's kind of a big question, too. Are all of these new shows, like the Lizzie McGuire reboot, is that going to go on cable too, or is that just going to be on Disney Plus? There are lots of questions I have as we streamline into different streaming platforms. Where's our stuff going to go? What's going to happen to cable TV? Is it going to be obsolete? I know my partner and I were getting a new place and we're not paying for cable because we watch everything on a platform. So we're paying for internet and that's it. When we come back, I will be talking social media news, so I'll do a little social media minute, sneak peek, kind of bite-sized version of what I'm doing on my other cast. I also do social media for GSMC, and the biggest story that broke this weekend was that Jeffree Star and his boyfriend, Nate, they broke up after 5 years, and the internet is heartbroken, as am I. So we'll get a little bit into that. I'll give you a little bit of information on that and where you can find that. So stay right here, and we'll wrap it up on the GSMC TV podcast.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Hey guys, we are back with the GSMC TV podcast. And for our last segment, we're going to kind of do a little bit of a social media minute. So I'm going to talk about, what's going on in social media, give you a little bit of a sneak peek on what's to come on our other channel. On my other podcast, I also do social media for GSMC. And so I'll give you a little bite-sized tidbit of that if you want to go check that out. But the first and biggest story was that Jeffree Star and his boyfriend Nate broke up. And Jeffree Star, for those of you who don't know, is one of the biggest names in makeup. He did music for a while, rather cringy music. And then he took the leap after he failed, and he jumped into makeup and is now, the top beauty guru on YouTube. He's gone way beyond that. He has Jeffree Star Cosmetics, which is, the reach for that is insane. He's one of the top sought after cosmetic producers. He just did a line with Shane Dawson, who's also one of the top content producers. So them together is just like this huge bamboozle of YouTube energy. And both of them have just spanned so far in their careers that I don't even see them as YouTubers anymore. They've grown so much, and their content is so much more than just YouTube, although that is where they mostly are homed. So Jeffree Star, who has been with his boyfriend Nate for 5 years, just recently announced that they were splitting yesterday. That's when I saw the news, and everybody's heartbroken. They know Nate, who is a very straight-looking male. He's been dating Jeffree for 5 years, and Nate, there are a lot of people who are thirsty for Nate. Nate's a good-looking guy. And ever since the beginning of, their relationship, people have said, Nate's just using you for your money, and Nate's a gold digger. Nate's probably off with some women. It's just all for show. It's all for the popularity, and Jeffree, said a couple of things addressing that in his video yesterday, addressing the breakup, and just saying, Nate's never been with me for my money. He never changed. So we'll break that down in the social media podcast. Selena Gomez just came out with her new album, Rare, and it's she has a lot to say. She's been relatively quiet, kind of like Justin, over these past couple of years. They've both been pretty quiet since their breakup, and, it must have been hard, even though it seems like celebrity relationships are kind of a dime a dozen. It seems like they both took an extreme amount of time off and away from, releasing big projects until this year. He released his first album in 4 years, and she followed quickly after. And I'm kind of like, girl, are you not over it yet? Because this whole album is just, we'll get into the topic of the album, but it seems like it's all about Justin. We'll get into a little bit of Amy Schumer's IVF experience. So Amy Schumer has come out saying, she's been dealing with problems getting pregnant. She's been using IVF. We'll talk a little bit about that and how her son is doing. We'll talk about Billie Eilish over on the GSMC social media podcast. She just turned 18, so the creeps are out. And we'll talk a little bit about, I've been wanting to try Rent the Runway. So I'll be giving you a lowdown on what Rent the Runway is and how you can try it. So if you still got some time, if you're looking to kill some time in the car, or if you just like, some background noise, head over to the GSMC social media podcast, and I'll give you, the latest on celebrity news and what's happening, who's the celebrity, drama, and I'd give it all to you over there. So as always, I have been your host, Devan Harris. It's been a great joy casting to you guys. I've been doing it for a couple of weeks now. As always, leave us a like, leave us some comments. We have a YouTube where we post everything, We have a Facebook group. It's just the GSMC TV podcast or the GSMC podcast network. We have an Instagram, and we do have a Twitter. So follow us on Twitter. All of our channels have their own Twitter channel, Twitter homepage, Twitter page. There we go. Words. And we post, and we want to interact with you guys to kind of see what you guys want to listen to. So don't be afraid to reach out to us. We want to know what you want to hear. And as always, stay safe and stay sweet, and tune in for next week. It's always a pleasure to cast for you guys. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you Wednesday. Bye-bye.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.